I have so much to say about Elio. I had a fun time, don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot that disappointed me. This is not the movie that Pixar showed us 3 years ago. The best way I can put this into words is that it feels like 3 different versions of the same movie stitched together into one. And what you get out of it is a story that literally has no actual plot. I actually went back to the original teaser trailer just out of curiosity, and almost none of the scenes from the original trailer were even in the movie at all, which tells me that this must have gone through some major last minute rewrites, and it definitely shows. See, when I heard they were doing a movie about aliens making contact with Earth, I was fully expecting a huge story with world-altering consequences. But instead they changed Elio so that now he actually wants to get abducted by aliens. In fact, he's obsessed with the idea. And the worst decision of all, they did a last minute change to insert Trigon as the villain. Not as someone who poses a threat to Earth, but instead he wants to take over this place called the Communiverse for absolutely no reason. Like I said, this movie feels very disconnected. The first act feels like it's setting up a completely different story than we get for the rest of the movie. And that's ironically enough the only part from the original trailer that was even left in the final cut. I really liked the first half hour actually. It set up a good mystery with the aliens and really gave that eerie vibe. Seeing the military come in contact with aliens really built intrigue. But from the moment that Elio gets abducted, the movie just goes downhill rapidly from that point on. We go from a suspenseful, almost eerie sci-fi movie to a goofy hour-long montage of Elio playing with aliens. The tone shifts so jarringly from serious to over-the-top silly within 5 minutes. I did like Glorden though. I'll always defend him as a character because him and Elio were a great duo. I do have to give them that. But his dad Trigon is who I have a problem with. Like I said, he was never supposed to be a villain, and when they decided to turn him into one at the last minute, they forgot to give him any real objective that made any sense. Zurg from Lightyear was actually a much better villain than him, and what I personally feel like Trigon should have been. See, if they were gonna make this guy some space warlord, they need to make him actually intimidating. Everything he says and does is just way too silly for me to ever take him seriously. And then add on top of that, the fact that the story does nothing to make me care about the Communiverse or if it gets taken over or not. The entire first act set up a conflict between aliens and Earth, only to shift gears and make it about Trigon versus the Communiverse halfway through the movie. You can feel how you want about Lightyear, and don't get me wrong, it's by no means a perfect movie, but you do have to admit, Zurg was actually an interesting villain who added real stakes to the movie and delivered with an intense final battle at the end. That's the kind of villain we need if they plan on doing a sci-fi space adventure like this. Because of all the rewrites, we ended up with a disjointed story with like 3 separate plot lines competing for attention. In the end, I honestly don't even know what the message even was or what anyone's motives even were. This reminds me a lot of The Good Dinosaur, how they marketed that movie as what if the asteroid missed, but then the actual movie spent like 5 minutes on that concept and then turned into a giant side quest that had nothing to do with the meteor or the dinosaur species as a whole. In the same way, Elio promised a story about Earth making contact with aliens, but ended up giving us a movie that actually had nothing to do with Earth at all. Pixar also seems to have this new thing now where they feel the need to force a scene that's supposed to be emotional, even if it just doesn't fit. It feels like Pixar is filling in a checkbox, and once we get to the end of the movie, they have to have a scene that's supposed to make you cry. And there were times in the past where they did this and it was great, but you don't need to try to make everything emotional. It just feels too forced. There was absolutely nothing sad about this movie until they decided to just make it sad at the end. I really hope people don't hate me for saying this, but I think this may be possibly Pixar's worst movie ever. It's not because this was terrible or anything, but when I think about it, I really just have a hard time putting this over any other Pixar movie. I do hope this movie grows on me, and it very much might. I'll probably see it again at least once before it leaves theaters. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on Elio, thanks for watching, and bye.